Hey everybody, it's Jamie from the Marine Doctors YouTube channel, and today we're putting AI to the test to see if it can help diagnose and provide the necessary steps to repair your engine. I'll be giving the AI a set of symptoms and I'll review its response. After each diagnosis, I'll clear the chat so that each question is fresh, ensuring the AI won't recall our previous conversation. But first of all, what we'll do is we'll ask the AI bot if it's possible to integrate into OBS software and use it on YouTube. So I've gone ahead and already typed it in. Let's look for an answer. Is it possible to add a window of Bing to OBS to use on YouTube? Yes, it's definitely possible to add a Bing window to OBS Open Broadcast software for use on YouTube, and then it gives a step-by-step. So I've already double checked to make sure that this is okay and we're not stepping on anyone's toes, Microsoft and YouTube complaining about it. All right, so what we're going to do, each time we're going to clear the conversation as I mentioned earlier. So I'll click on here, start new chat. It resets to the blue box and we're ready to go. Okay, so the first question we're going to ask is, I'm not getting water out of the telltale, but let's back up. I need to set it up first. I need to tell the AI bot what we're looking to do. So I have an outboard and I have symptoms that I need clarification on. Can you tell me what is wrong and what to do from these symptoms? All right, I'd be happy to help. Could you please provide more details about the symptoms your outboard motors experience? For example, let's just move this over here so that's a little bit easier. Is it having trouble starting, running rough, overheating, or experiencing any other specific issues? The more information you can share, the better I can assist you. All right, so rather than click on the specific ones that it's asking, we're going to take and ask it questions directly, just as you would as a user. So I'm just going to do this as copy and paste. Sorry, I have questions that I've already written down and I want to ask. So the first one we're going to ask is, I'm not getting water out of my telltale. All right. A telltale that isn't producing water can indicate a few potential issues with your outboard motor's cooling system. Here are some of the steps you can take to diagnose and potentially fix the problem. So number one is check for blockages. I won't go into too far of what they say unless I deem that it's unusual or yeah, just unusual. But for the most part, check for blockages. So ideally what you would do is, well, no, let's do it exactly. Let's do it verbatim. Let's do it verbatim because again, this is what we want to know. Does AI really know how to fix your engine? Has it been trained properly? Is it going to take what we're learning today to help train it? All right, check for blockages. The telltale nozzle can get clogged with debris. Use a small wire or paper clip to gently clear any blockages. So that's spot on. That's advice that I would give right at the shop if someone came in or was calling me on the phone. Next is inspect the hose. Ensure the hose connected to the telltale isn't kinked or blocked. You can flush it out with water to remove any obstructions. Well, I don't know how they're going to flush it out with water. If water's not moving through it in the first place, there's a blockage. I suppose once it's clear and you see the water coming out and the telltale works, the obstructions are gone. So yes, but inspect the hose. Yes. Examine the water pump. So we're getting a little more in depth now. Examine the water pump. The water pump impeller might be damaged or worn out. Inspect it for any signs of wear and replace it as necessary. Check the thermostat. So some water or telltales are dependent on the thermostat. Okay. So a malfunctioning thermostat can prevent water from circulating properly. Ensure it's functioning correctly and replace it if needed. Number 5, look at the intake grills. Make sure the intake grills aren't blocked by debris, which can restrict the water flow. So, for example, if you're out on the lake and you pick up some weeds in the water, they may cap on either side of your water intakes and prevent the water from flowing. So if a person is running it on water must, for example, you would check them already and they would be clear. What else can what can I add to this? It's pretty good. I will add though, one of these things that it appears to not really. I ran some of these before because I wanted to verify that this was going to work, but it doesn't give one of the main things that you want to do, and you want to check the validity of the engine. Okay, you can also not have water coming out the telltale if it has a blown head gasket, and this would be checked for with a compression tester. Okay, so you can, of course, you could do all of these steps. These steps are fairly basic, except for checking the thermostat. Takes a bit of work, and also taking the gear case off and checking the water pump. Ideally, most people should be changing that water pump every 3 years anyway, so you want to stay on top of that. But that's actually pretty good. Let's move on to the next one. So as I mentioned, start new chat. Now, I'm going to expand a little bit on the water pump one that we just asked, okay? So I'm stating I'm not getting water out of my telltale and the engine's running rough. Now let's see if it provides that extra step of checking the compression. So it sounds like you're having some trouble with your boat's cooling system. When the telltale isn't expelling water, it often indicates an issue of the water pump or blockage in the cooling system. Here are a few steps. So number one is check for blockages. Okay? They're giving a little bit more details this time of things that you can look for, and it's salt crystals or dirt can clog the telltale hose. Yeah, that's very good. Inspect the impeller. Well, we already know that we should be doing that. Examine the water pump. Well, if we're in checking the impeller, we're already doing that, so it doesn't really know the difference between the two. It's still a very good tip. Test the thermostat. Again, we're aware of that. And check for air leaks in the cooling system, which can prevent water from flowing correctly. So that's something new. Now, is it likely? I've seen where someone will start their engine and it won't pump water. They'll lift it up and put it back down into the water and it'll pump. So it is possible that we can airlock somehow. Let's see, outside of that, again, so what they're saying is if you've gone through these steps and the issue persists, it might be a good idea to consult a marine mechanic for a more thorough inspection. So if you're not capable of, like I said, doing that compression test, which would also be it's high on the list, then yeah, take it in and get it looked at. We always want to make sure that the engine is okay before we spend any money or extra time on it. Okay, and it asks further. This is really cool. It says, can you explain how to check the impeller? That's a question that it wants to ask. So let's have a look. So we're asking it now, can you explain how to check the impeller? Sure, here's a step-by-step guide to check the impeller. It says safety first, make sure the engine is turned off and the key is removed from the ignition. You don't want any accidental starts while you're working. So if, say for example, the key was in the on position and it was in gear and you turn the prop, you can start the engine. So safety first. So it says remove the lower unit. Locate the bolts that hold the lower unit, part of the engine that sits in the water, to the upper unit. Carefully remove these bolts with a wrench or socket. Keep track of the bolts and washers so that you can reassemble it. Access the water pump with the lower unit removed and you'll see the water pump. The water pump housing is typically secured with a few bolts. Remove these bolts. Inspect the impeller. Carefully lift the water pump housing off to reveal the impeller. Check the impeller for signs of wear or damage such as cracked or missing blades. We could also have it so that the blades don't want to straighten out too. That's another thing that we look for. We also, if the impeller looks damaged or worn, it's a good idea to replace it. Install the new impeller. So they've missed a couple things here. We also want to check the housing for wear. We also want to check the housing at the top where the seal is, where the copper pipe goes down, that maybe that seal isn't bent over or burnt out or something that would allow water to escape past. So it says reassemble the lower unit, test the engine. Okay. So what did we miss here? So we missed, as I mentioned before, they didn't say to check the pump housing again for wear in it or damage. One of the big things is they didn't explain how to remove or disconnect the shifter linkage. That's really important. If you've got a Johnson, an Evinrude, or you've got a Tohatsu, I'm just trying to run these, Yamaha, a Merkaha, so Mercury / made by Yamaha, all of these shifters disconnect in different ways and they must be disconnected to get the gear case off. If you've got a Mercury or a Mariner and it's a newer Mariner, not a Yamaha Mariner, it's as simple as taking the bolts off and dropping the gear case off. All right. Oh, that's pretty good. All right, let's move on to another one here. Start new chat. So we're going to do the outboard is smoking and down on performance. This should be an interesting one. All right, so right away it's feeling sorry for us. It's apologizing and saying, I'm sorry that your outboard is having issues. Smoke and reduced performance can be caused by a few different things. Here we go. Incorrect fuel mixture. If you have a two-stroke engine, it's required a specific fuel to air ratio, or usually around fuel to oil ratio of around 50 to 1. An incorrect mixture can cause excessive smoke and poor performance. Make sure you're using the ratio and the type of oil. So we want to use TCW3. I'm mentioning TCW3 because it's not stating that, and that's something that's very important. So TCW3 is the rating that we want. Oil leak. If you have a four-stroke engine, an oil leak could be causing the smoke. Check for signs of an oil leak into the combustion chamber. Yeah, so that'll be one of those things where, let me back up. I've done some videos on this. If you've got a smaller engine and you lay it on the wrong side, a four-stroke engine on the wrong side, oil will leak into the intake and then get into the cylinders, and then as you start the engine, it smokes. So yes, but that's about as far as you could go as far as oil getting into the combustion chamber. Outside of that, you'll be taking valve covers off, checking valves and things like that, which, again, the average person isn't going to be doing that. Clogged air filter. Clogged air filter can restrict the airflow to the engine, leading to poor performance. Inspect and clean or replace the air filter as necessary. So, typically speaking, some two-strokes run them, most don't. So, four-stroke does. Four-stroke does. So a lot of the Mercury stuff has them. They were originally foam cones, and they can actually be sucked right in. So yeah, be sure to check the filter. Water in the fuel. Water in the fuel can cause white smoke and performance issues. Make sure your fuel is clean and free of water. Now, reading on, it doesn't say how to do that. So ideally what you would do is disconnect your primer bulb or hook a primer bulb up if your engine doesn't currently run one, pump some fuel into a little container, and if you hold it sideways and it looks like a little lava lamp, so that means you've got water floating at the bottom, right? And then you've got gas on the top, you know that there's water in there. Or if you pour it onto some cardboard, a cardboard's a really good way to find out if there's water in there because the water will bead on top as the fuel soaks into the carburetor, or into the cardboard. Okay. Let's see. Carbon buildup. Excessive carbon buildup can cause black smoke and reduced engine efficiency. A professional cleaning might be needed to address this issue. So on the side of two strokes, that would be running a cleaner through the engine. So Power Tune, dare I say, a product like Seafoam, that would be something else that you could run through there. Deep Creep, I think, is another one. That's a Seafoam product. Quick Clean, that's another Mercury product. Power Tune is a spray-in that we would use at the shop to speed things up. So basically what it's saying there is that as the carbon builds up, the rings will start to stick in on the piston, and it lets the combustion, so the air in the fuel mixture as it burns, escape past, and we get blow-by, and then it doesn't run properly. So it's always a good idea to consult your engine's manual for specific troubleshooting steps and maintenance tips. If the problem persists, it might be best to take it in and get it looked at. The next thing they're asking is, do you know the type of outboard you have, two-stroke or four-stroke? So hopefully you know that already. You should know that. If you're putting the wrong oil in, that could be another reason that your two-stroke is smoking. All right, let's go ahead. We'll clear that, start a new chat. So we're going to now go with the outboard dies when it tries to accelerate from a stop. What do we got here? Oh, again, they're sorry it's happening. Now, carburetor issue. Dirt or debris in the carburetor can cause the fuel flow problems. Cleaning or rebuilding the carburetor might help. Yes. Okay. Spark plugs. Faulty or worn out spark plugs can prevent the engine from running smoothly. Inspect and replace if necessary. Yes. Fuel supply. Water in the fuel or clogged fuel line can disrupt the engine's performance. Make sure the fuel is clean and the lines are clear. So make sure there's no water in it. Make sure the fuel is new, and retest if you already have, if you've gone through those steps of replacing it. Air leaks. Air getting to the fuel stem can cause the engine to hesitate or stall. Check for any leaks in the inlet rubbers, housing, or gaskets. Very good. Idle settings. Incorrect idle settings can cause stalling issues. Adjust the idle settings might help. So we can have an idle that's too low. So it's not again, this is me talking now. This isn't what it's saying. We can have an idle that's too low, or we can have an incorrect air fuel mixture that's causing this issue, right? So that would again mean clean out the carburetor and make sure that everything is fine there. But again, a really important step that they're missing here is the validation of the engine. Compression. Make sure the engine is sound before you come in and get the carburetors cleaned. I don't know how many engines I've worked on for people, and I've had to say, look, your compression is low on one cylinder. It doesn't matter if you give me $500, $600, $700 to clean your carburetors. It's just not going to work. All right. That was pretty good. Again, they're just missing that. So they've got some other notes down at the bottom. Questions you can ask is, can you explain how the carburetor affects performance? What are some general troubleshooting steps for outboard motors, and what regular maintenance should I perform on my engine? So it looks like they've got a lot of other information that it's learned already, which is great. But let's move on to my next question. So we're going to go ahead, start the new chat. Now this is really, really common. We're going to ask it, there's water in my outboard's gear oil. So water in outboard's gear oil can be a serious issue. Yes. It often indicates a leak in the seals or gaskets, allowing water to mix with the oil. This can lead to corrosion and damage to the gears if not addressed promptly. So here are a few steps you can take. Change the gear oil, drain the contaminated oil out, and replace it with fresh gear oil. I'm going to say yes, but that's a Band-Aid. Inspect the leaks. Check the seals, gaskets, and propeller shaft for any signs of leaks. So what you would be looking for would be oil slowly draining out. A very easy way is, if it's in the summer, put the gear case directly in the hot sun and let it pressurize. You'll see the oil come out really quick. Let's see. Replace faulty seals. If you find any damaged seals or gaskets, replace them to further prevent water ingress. So yes. Consult a professional, etc. So all of those are fantastic. But again, if you don't have access to a way to pressure test it after you do all the work, put it in the hot sun. And that's a fantastic way to test that gear case. So yeah, they did quite well on here. Start new chat. All right, so this is a question. It's typical of a Johnson outboard, but it's going to apply to them all. I'm just using Johnson in the question though. The alarm is going off on a Johnson 90 horsepower. It's a constant alarm. What's wrong? So constant alarm on a 90 horsepower Johnson outboard can indicate a few potential issues. Here are some common issues, or causes, sorry. Overheating. If the engine is overheating, the alarm will sound continuously. Check the water pump and ensure that there's a steady stream of water coming out. Also, inspect the thermostat and cooling system for any blockages or malfunctions. All right, so they touched lightly on the same question, or the same answers, or the diagnosis of the telltale not functioning. Okay. Low oil. If the if the oil level is low, the alarm will sound to alert you. Check the oil level and ensure it's topped up. Now, I'm just reading on a little bit before I say anything more about this. I'll read the next one. Fuel restriction. A constant alarm can also indicate a fuel restriction. Ensure the fuel lines are clear and there are no blockages. And they're also saying sometimes electrical problems such as a faulty sensor or wiring issues can trigger the alarm. Inspect the wiring and any signs of damage or corrosion. So this is good, but it's pretty vague. So alarm systems on outboards have different warnings. So And I know we said Johnson, but this even applies to this Johnson. If it's a constant beep, it's typical of overheating. So if it stays on, it's hot. If it's an intermittent or a beep, 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 that's typical of oil, I believe, or low fuel flow. I think there's a third one. I'm just not recalling it right now. We could probably ask the AI bot. Let's ask. What are the alarms on a 90 horsepower Johnson? Here we go. Overheating the alarm sounds continuously. Low oil, the alarm will sound in oil levels low. There's an issue with the oil injection system. Fuel restriction and it doesn't know. Yeah. So, yeah, that's not a very good question to ask it's I think if you asked Google itself, you'd probably get better answers than the AI bot's giving us for this one. All right, starting chat. So a lot of these questions are questions that I would field at work over the phone, or someone will come in and I have to talk to them. So here's another one. I was boating and there was a loud thud. The engine jumped up out of the water and now the engine just revs. So this is cute. It says, "Oh no, that sounds frustrating. It sounds like your boat's engine might have hit something underwater, causing it to jump out of the water and possibly damaging the propeller or the drive system. When an engine just revs without moving, it could be due to a few reasons." This is fantastic. This is great. This is very good. I think I've probably said that too much. Propeller damage. The propeller might be bent, broken, or tangled with debris. It can also be, we've got these plastic inserts. It could be spun on that and that broke. Drive shaft issue. The drive shaft or its connection to the engine might be damaged. I've seen small engines, actually I've probably even 90s and 120s even, where no, wouldn't be that big. Have we seen, no, the old 70 Johnsons. The drive shaft will snap at the top, and I've seen it on 6 horsepower going through sand. They'll break or shear the drive shafts off. Throttle or shift linkage. The throttle shift linkage could be misaligned or damaged. So I don't know. I think you would probably notice that the shift linkage was causing issues before that. I don't think I would jump to that conclusion. If the customer would say came in later and they told me this is what happened, and then they did some adjusting themselves, well then yes, but no, hitting something's not going to do that. Engine mounts. The engine mounts might be damaged, causing the engine to move excessively. No, I don't think that really has anything to do with what we asked. I asked for, I was boating and there's a loud thud. The engine jumped out of the water. Now the engine just revs. So no, the last one, no. And again, it says take it in and get it looked at. So, but yeah, I was I really liked it. Jumped right to the prompt. That was fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and clear this. Start a new chat. Now this one's really gonna be up to debate. So you guys comment down below in the comment section and go. Should I remove the VRO pump on a Johnson or Evinrude engine? I've got my thoughts on this. The decision to remove the VRO oil or variable oil pump from your Johnson Evinrude depends on a few factors. Reliability concerns. Some boaters have reported issues with the VRO system, such as oil starvation, leading to engine damage. If you're worried about the reliability of the VRO pump, you might consider removing it. Fear, right? Everybody knows someone or has heard from someone down the line that Dave's cousin's sister's son's whatever has an engine that died because the VRO pump went out. Everyone's got a friend. Maintenance. Removing the VRO pump and switching to a direct fuel pump with premixed fuel can simplify maintenance. You need to manually mix the oil and fuel, but it eliminates the risk of the VRO failing. Cost. Replacing the VRO pump can be expensive, and some boaters prefer to switch to a simpler fuel-only system to save money. Yes. So up here in Canada, to replace that pump is over $1,000 now. When you look at putting a fuel pump on, you could maybe do it yourself, but if you're going to bring it in and get it done, probably looking at about $300. And then you're going to be mixing the oil yourself. Personal preference. Some boaters feel more comfortable with a premixed fuel system, while others trust the VRO system when properly maintained. So a lot of years ago, I did some reading up on the VRO pump. There was Joe Reeves, I think was his name. This goes back a lot of years. He'd done a lot of talk about it and brought a bunch of papers out that we could read up on how they work and so on and so forth. And the gist I got out of it was if the VRO pump fails, it's because the oil diaphragm ruptures. And if the oil diaphragm ruptures, it floods the engine with oil. So we can run lean by not getting enough fuel into the engine, but if the oil side is working properly, instead of it going click every, say, 15 to 20 seconds, and you can, I don't test it because it's going to stretch the diaphragms, but if you unhook the fuel on a VRO and you run the engine, you'll hear the VRO pump go tick, 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 as it tries to save itself by pumping excessive amounts of oil into the engine to stop it from harming itself. So there are fail-safes that were built into the next few generations. I know there's a lot of fear with the original ones, and I think that was due to they didn't support alcohol-based fuels. So I think 85, 86, it has a little clip on the top that says VRO alcohol certified or something along those lines. So again, the AI, it did very well here. Reliability concerns, yes. We're unless it's new, if it's 30, 40 years old, would it be 40 now? That would be 80? Yeah, I guess, it could be 40 years old now. It's probably a good idea to either update it or just simply take it off. Maintenance, good. Cost of replacing, yes. Personal preference, yes. Very good, very good. Let's clear those. All right, so this one touches a little bit on the gear case again, and the outboard will not come out of gear. Let's see what it has to say. Again, it's really sorry. Shift cable issues. The shift cable might be misadjusted, kinked, or broken. Disconnecting the cable at the motor and manually shifting linkage can help determine if the issue is the cable. That's good. They told you exactly what to do. Very simple and straightforward. That's great. Shift linkage problem. The linkage inside the engine cowling might be bent or misaligned. This can prevent the gears from shifting properly. So I'm just wondering how that would happen. I know that if we shift the engine without it running, we can damage the control box. I guess it is possible that we could damage the linkage back on the engine. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I doubt it. Worn or damaged components. Components like the clutch dog or gears might be worn out or damaged. This can cause the outboard to stick in gear. Yes. So if you're shifting the shift arm or shift lever too slow and you're hearing grrrr back at the gear case, you're shifting too slow and you're prematurely damaging your gear set and your clutch. Spun prop hub. If the prop hub is spun, it can cause gear slippage or difficulty in shifting. So if it's spun, you're probably gonna you probably get a little bit out of it. You just won't be able to accelerate all that well until it slips. And it is sometimes that when you slow down, it depends on how badly it's spun. It'll work, kind of, just not at high speeds. Now, there was something that I wanted to mention here. Just let me read through these again because it came to mind. Oh, if the engine had water in the gear case over the winter and it froze up. Probably not going to happen in the southern states, but up here in Canada, it does happen. And it can push the bearing carrier back, which moves the reverse gear away. So we could then still have forward gear, but we don't have reverse. So that's just something to keep in mind. It asks, how do I check the shift cable? Let's see what it says. I know how to do it, but let's see if the AI bot does. Disconnect the cable. Start by disconnect the shift cable at the engine. This will allow you to manually move the shift lever and see if the issues with the cable or the engine itself. So, yes. Inspect the cable. Look for visible signs of damage such as kinks, fraying, or corrosion. Ensure the cable is properly seated and fitting and there are no obstructions. So you can actually see if you can see the cable moving inside, the cable's got to be replaced. If you see that the cable, here we go. If the cable end is here and the cable's in here, but it's pulled back, you got to replace that cable. You'll know what I'm talking about if you look at it. There's a steel part on the end that goes over top. If that's pulled away, the cable you'll never be able to adjust it. But yeah, those are some good. Let's check the control unit. So they say check the control box. I've got a video on YouTube in our movie series that we have where we actually check the control box because the control box is broken on the inside and we replace it with a used one. And then it's adjust the cable. So over time, adjusting the cable, yes and no. I think if it's to the point where you need to start adjusting the cable, something else has happened and you should replace that cable. Start new one. Here's a good one. Fuel is coming out of the carburetor. Just AI bot is going to think that we bought a piece of trash when we got our engine. Everything is wrong with it. So fuel is coming out of the carburetor. It's a yikes. That doesn't sound good. That's often a sign that something's amiss. Here are a few common causes. The float level. If the float level is set too high, fuel can overflow and come out of the front of the carburetor. The needle and seat. If the needle and seat are worn out or dirty, they might not close properly, causing fuel to leak. Stuck float. Sometimes the float can get stuck, which causes fuel to spill over. Yeah, that's them. I guess when a customer comes in and yeah, that's pretty much what I will run through with them. And then they will go home and make those adjustments if they can. If not, we see them within the next few days and we take care of that problem ourselves. But yes, the float level, the needle in seat, and a stuck float. Stuck float, we could also have a hole in the float, or we could have a fuel-soaked float. So those are the old varnish-covered wooden or cork ones. They can absorb fuel over time if the varnish is gone. Start new chat. Let's see. This one, this will be good. This will be good. Let's see how smart it is now. The outboard will run for about 30 seconds and drop in power when hot. It should give us I'm thinking it's going to give us some really good ones and a wide spectrum. Sounds like your outboard engine might be experiencing a common issue. There are several potential causes for this problem, including fuel-related issues, old or contaminated fuel, improper fuel mixture, or clogged fuel filter can cause loss of power. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. That's kind of generic, but yes. Electrical problems, faulty spark plugs, ignition coils, or wiring issues can lead to power drops. Yes, I would probably lean more towards the ignition coils, as one cylinder would cut out or two cylinders would come out, which would mean replace the ignition coil. Overheating, a malfunctioning water pump or clogged cooling system can cause the engine to overheat and lose power. Yes, I wasn't expecting that one. We could also get a 4-point seizure on a particular cylinder, which means that the cylinder squeezes the piston and holds it tight and stalls the engine out. That's a bad thing. Mechanical issue, worn out drive belts, damaged pistons, or other internal engine problems can also be the culprits. Yeah, very good. Yeah, I don't know if I expected any more or any less out of it, but yeah, it was good. It did a good job here. What could I add to that? So I would definitely look into the electronics when it came in. I would also start with a compression. Yeah, I guess. Start with compression test. Again, we want to check the validity of the engine and make sure that it's okay. So if it is indeed the water pump that's causing the problem and it's been getting hot, we definitely want to make sure that we check the compression to make sure it's not a 4-point seizure, and even to the point of removing the heads to check, to verify. Yeah, it did well on this one. Start new chat. The outboard is hard starting when cold. All right, what does it have to say? It's sorry to hear that. Cold starting issues can be frustrating, yes. Carburetor issues. The carburetor might be needed cleaning or adjusting. Over time, it can become clogged with debris or fuel restrictions. So, in saying that, if you eventually do get it started, it's probably not going to run. So, again, that would lead you back to the carburetors. But again, I'm going to add check the compression. Check the compression to make sure it's okay. When I was doing these the other day, before I cleared its resident memory that it follows along with, I told it was wrong and it should check the validity of the engine. So then anytime I asked a question after that, it told me to check the compression first. It was, yeah. It's not learning from me. It's just keeping that in memory. It's not retraining what it thinks. It learns elsewhere, not by us. Because I asked it and it says, no, I don't learn nothing from you, it says. So, okay. Fuel system problems. Ensure that the fuel is fresh and there are no blockages in the fuel lines. Sometimes the fuel might need to be primed more thoroughly. So that's correct. I have a video as well, and I explain primers and chokes. That would be a great video for you guys to watch. If I remember when I dropped this video, I'm hopefully going to put all of those links down in the description so that you guys can just easily drop down, watch those videos, and know what I'm talking about or what the AI bot here is talking about. Spark plug condition. A worn or dirty spark plug can cause these starting issues. Check and clean or replace. So again, if it's a spark plug, once you get it started, I don't see the problem going away. It should still exist. Cold start enrichment valve. Some outboards have a cold start enrichment valve, which might need adjustment or cleaning. Again, I'll have that video below. Again, the choke, the primer / enrichener circuit. And again, the enrichener circuit needs for you to prime it properly because the enrichener circuit works off fuel pressure to inject fuel into the engine. Well, I guess you don't have to watch that video now. Oops. Compression issue. Hey, here it is. Here it is. Number 5. But it should have been number 1. It should have been number 1. Low or uneven compression can make it hard to start the engine. This might require compression test and possibly valve adjustments. So we're dedicating 2-stroke engines today is what we're doing. So there is no valve adjustments unless we're talking about a broken reed. But it's still going to start. It's just going to run poorly. So that was very good. It says you can YouTube how to start. So it's just going to send us to places now on how to take care of these problems on the internet. That's not what we're interested in. Well, you could ask me. Start, let's see here. Okay. Oh, I think that's it. I think that's all of them. That's all the questions that I had wanted to ask it, or I typed out to ask it. So I think it's time to summarize how the AI bot did. I think for the most part, outside of it checking the validity of the engine, and I'm always going to stress that. I apologize. I don't want people spending money to repair something that you can't repair. And as I mentioned, I talk to a lot of people about this when I'm at work about, hey, I can't fix this because of these reasons. Okay. So even if, for example, someone comes in and they need work on their gear case and it's going to be an expensive repair, I get a history on the engine. Is the engine running well? And if the engine's not running well, we're going to do compression tests before we spend your hard-earned money on a damaged gear case when we get that together for $2,000-$3,000, whatever it is, and then give you a call and say, yeah, well, about the top half now. We don't want that to happen, and I don't want any of you to experience that either. That's not fair to you guys. Money's tight enough as it is, and hopefully if you do end up going to a dealer, they treat you with respect, and they talk to you, and it's all one-on-one, and you feel welcome. Feeling welcome at a dealership, fantastic. We try to do that with everybody. I'm getting off topic here, but yeah. I even get the boys involved with the customers so that there's a one-on-one, so they know who's working on their engine. Well, back to the AI. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. AI, I think, did a very good job. It's been trained quite well. It needs some polishing. I don't know how they're doing it. I would assume it's like anything else where it kind of does its own research. It compares. Wait, we could ask that. Let's ask. How do you train? As an AI developed by Microsoft, I learned from a wide variety of sources, including books, websites, and other texts, to develop a broad understanding of human language. This vast collection of information allows me to assist users with a range of queries. However, I don't have specific training details as I'm not aware of the technical aspects of my creation. That said, my purpose is to assist, provide information, and generate creative ideas in a way that feels helpful and engaging. If you have any specific topics or tasks you'd like to help with, feel free to ask. So, in a nutshell, it's to assist, right? It's I guess it's the same thing when someone calls me at the shop. I'm going to give them the most common answers that I can in a relatively short amount of time because again, I'm busy at work, but to try and lead the person in the right direction, and that's exactly what the AI bot is doing here. So, is this going to take my job? No. Is this going to make people ask questions on the internet to people like me? Less likely? Probably. And the reason I say that is the way the AI is developed, it checks, it double checks, it quadruple checks, it makes sure it's the right answer, or it just won't give you an answer. It'll just leave that portion out. So when you are asking the AI, unless you've checked everything that the AI has said to check, you can then start making requests to dealers or coming online and asking the professionals that are online. AI, I guess, would be not a seasoned technician. It doesn't have all the knowledge that it needs, and that it to be 100% correct. And I'm not 100% correct. I'm just saying that I have other avenues or other checks that I would do outside of what AI would typically check or has told us to check. All right. So with that, I think it's pretty good. I think it's a great assisting tool to myself even and to you. And yeah, it wouldn't hurt to ask AI. So with that, thank you for watching. I'll have some links below of the videos that I mentioned. If I remembered the ones it's been a long day. If I remember them, I'll put them in and you guys can go ahead and view those videos. If not, please like, subscribe, and please comment below. It really helps the channel. And I will see you guys in the next video.